There is a $5 bucket sitting behind the woodshed on this property. It has been there for 11 years. In those 11 years, I have not been bitten by a mosquito on this porch. Not once. My children play in this yard until dark every summer night. My wife tends her herb garden at dusk without a single repellent on her skin. The honeybees that work the clover along the fence line are healthy, and they are alive, and there are more of them this year than there were last year. No spray truck has pulled into this driveway in over a decade. No pest control company has a contract on this property. No chemical has been applied to this soil, this grass, or this air, and the mosquitoes are gone. My name is not important. What is important is where I come from. I come from 5 generations of American frontier people, homesteaders, farmers, and tradesmen who lived in the hill country of Tennessee and Kentucky long before anyone sold them anything in a white spray truck. They dealt with mosquitoes the same way their grandparents dealt with mosquitoes, the same way people dealt with mosquitoes for 200 years on this continent before the chemical industry decided there was money in the problem. I am going to show you everything they knew, and by the end of this video, you will understand why almost nobody talks about it anymore, and who benefits from your not knowing. Every spring, millions of American families call a number on a lawn sign and pay a company between $150 and $400 to spray their yard with a chemical called permethrin or bifenthrin, or one of 24 synthetic pyrethroids that, according to the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, are among the most toxic substances to aquatic insects, beneficial beetles, and honeybees that have ever been introduced into a residential environment. The company comes back every 4 to 6 weeks. You pay again. The mosquitoes come back too, usually within 10 days of each treatment, because the chemical breaks down in sunlight and rain, and because it does not address a single thing about why the mosquitoes are there in the first place. Across the United States, homeowners spend over $11 billion every year on mosquito control. $11 billion. The mosquitoes are still here. Here is what nobody in that industry has any financial interest in telling you. The mosquito problem in your yard is not a chemical problem. It is a water problem. Every mosquito that has ever bitten you, or your child, or your dog, hatched from standing water within 300 feet of where you were standing. Every single one. The female mosquito lays her eggs in still water. The larvae live in still water. The pupae develop in still water. Remove the still water, and you remove the source of every mosquito that will ever come near your property. The chemical truck kills the adults that are already there. It does nothing about the 10,000 eggs already hatching in the water that has collected in your gutters, your downspout splash blocks, your wheelbarrow, your dog's water bowl, the low corner of your lawn that holds rain for 3 days, and the hollow knot in the oak tree at the back of your property. This is not a secret. Entomologists have known this for over a century. The frontier families who settled this country knew it too, because they had to. They did not have the option of paying someone else to manage the problem for them. They managed it themselves, for nothing. The approach frontier homesteaders used has 4 parts. They are not complicated. None of them require any product you cannot find at a hardware store or a farm supply. And they work together as a system. The same way a fence works better than a single nail. I'm going to walk you through all 4, then I'm going to show you each one in detail. The first part is source removal. This is the Saturday morning walk. You do it once a week from May through September. You walk your entire property looking for every place water can collect and sit still. You eliminate every one of them. The second part is the bucket trap. This is the $5 bucket behind my woodshed. It does not kill adult mosquitoes. It does something far more effective. It intercepts the females before they lay their eggs anywhere else on your property, and it kills the eggs and larvae before they ever become mosquitoes. One properly placed bucket will intercept the breeding activity of every mosquito within a 100-yard radius. The third part is the perimeter spray. This is the only part that targets adult mosquitoes directly. It uses 3 ingredients from your kitchen and garden that, combined in the right proportions, are lethal to mosquitoes and completely harmless to bees, pets, and humans. It costs under $3 per application, and it is more effective than any commercial spray I have ever tested against it. The fourth part is the dusk smudge. This is the oldest method in this system, the one my great-great-grandmother would have recognized immediately. It takes 5 minutes before sundown. It requires one thing you almost certainly already have, and it creates a perimeter around your porch or outdoor sitting area that no mosquito will cross. 4 parts, 1 system, 200 years of proof. Let us start at the beginning. The Saturday morning walk costs nothing and takes between 15 and 30 minutes depending on the size of your property. Here is exactly what you are looking for. Gutters and downspouts. A teaspoon of standing water in a clogged gutter will produce more mosquitoes than a neglected pond. Clean your gutters in April before mosquito season begins. If a gutter holds water after rain, the slope is wrong and it needs to be corrected. Downspout splash blocks. These are the plastic or concrete trays at the base of your downspouts. If they hold water for more than 48 hours after rain, mosquitoes will breed in them. Replace them with gravel-filled trenches that drain completely, or drill drainage holes in the bottom of plastic ones. Low spots in the lawn. Walk your yard 2 days after a significant rain. Anywhere you see standing water, you have a breeding ground. Over time, these low spots can be leveled with topsoil and overseeded. In the short term, they can be addressed with a simple French drain. Forgotten containers. This is the most overlooked source of mosquito breeding on any residential property. A flower pot saucer, an upturned lid, a children's toy left outside, a forgotten wheelbarrow, a tire, the plastic shell of an outdoor chair leg that collects rain. Frontier families kept their properties extremely clean of anything that could hold water, not because they were tidy people, though many of them were, but because they understood the relationship between standing water and biting insects. Walk your property this way every single Saturday from the 1st of May to the end of September. It takes longer the first time. By the 3rd week, it takes 12 minutes. By the 5th week, you know every inch of your property and you have eliminated most of what was breeding there. Frontier homesteaders did not call this pest control. They called it property maintenance. It was simply part of how a well-run household operated. The separation of those two ideas, keeping a clean property versus paying someone to spray chemicals, is a relatively new invention, and it has cost American families a great deal of money for results that are, at best, temporary. The bucket trap is the centerpiece of this system. Here is what you will need: 1 5-gallon bucket, black or dark-colored if possible. Mosquitoes prefer to lay eggs in dark water. A handful of dry grass, straw, or dead leaves. A tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Enough water to fill the bucket to within 4 inches of the top. And 1 Bacillus thuringiensis israelensis tablet, sold at garden centers and farm supply stores under brand names like Mosquito Dunks for under $8 a pack. 1 pack will last you an entire season. Here is how to assemble it. Fill the bucket with water, add the dry grass, straw, or dead leaves. This begins a natural fermentation process that produces carbon dioxide and organic compounds that are irresistible to female mosquitoes looking for a breeding site. Add the tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, which accelerates the fermentation and adds to the attractant profile. Drop in 1 Bacillus thuringiensis tablet. That tablet is the critical element. Bacillus thuringiensis israelensis is a naturally occurring soil bacterium. When mosquito larvae ingest it, it produces proteins that are toxic specifically to mosquito larvae and a handful of related fly species. It is completely harmless to every other living thing, to fish, frogs, birds, bees, butterflies, earthworms, pets, and humans. The United States Environmental Protection Agency has classified it as safe for use in drinking water sources. It is not new. It has been used in organic farming and municipal mosquito control programs since the 1970s. Place the bucket in a shaded location, along a fence line, behind a shed, under a tree, not in direct sunlight, not in a place where children or pets will knock it over, but not hidden so far that you forget about it. What happens next is simple. Female mosquitoes seeking standing water to lay their eggs will find your bucket within 24 to 48 hours. It is, from a mosquito's perspective, a perfect breeding site. Dark, still, warm, rich with organic material. They will lay their eggs in it. The larvae will hatch. The Bacillus thuringiensis will kill every one of them before they develop into adults. You will replenish the water every 3 to 4 weeks and replace the Bacillus thuringiensis tablet on the schedule printed on the package. That is the entire maintenance requirement. For larger properties, half an acre or more, place 2 or 3 buckets in different corners of the property. For a standard suburban lot of a quarter acre, 1 bucket placed centrally in the shadiest area is sufficient. Frontier homesteaders did not use Bacillus thuringiensis tablets. That product came later. What they used were similar passive water traps, often filled with water from the rain barrel that had already developed natural biological activity, placed deliberately in corners of the property to draw mosquito breeding activity away from the living areas of the farm. The principle is identical. The biology is identical. The modern tablet simply makes the larval kill more reliable and faster. The perimeter spray handles the adult mosquitoes that are already present in the yard at the time you begin this system. It does not need to be reapplied on a fixed schedule. Apply it after heavy rain, which washes it off vegetation, and reapply every 10 to 14 days during peak mosquito season. Here is the formulation. 1 standard 32-ounce spray bottle filled with water. 2 tablespoons of witch hazel or plain rubbing alcohol. This acts as an emulsifier and helps the oils mix with the water. 20 drops of oil of lemon eucalyptus. 15 drops of peppermint essential oil. 10 drops of rosemary essential oil. Shake well before every use. Spray the perimeter of your yard along fence lines and property edges. Spray the undersides of porch railings and steps, where adult mosquitoes rest during the day. Spray around any thick vegetation, hedges, shrubs, ornamental grasses, where adults shelter in the heat of the afternoon. Do not spray flowering plants directly. Do not spray near active beehives or pollinator gardens during peak foraging hours in the morning. Apply in the early evening when bees have returned to their hives. The science behind this formulation is not folk medicine. Oil of lemon eucalyptus, specifically its active compound paramenthane-3, 8-diol, is one of the few botanical mosquito repellents that the Centers for Disease Control recognizes as providing protection comparable to DEET. Peppermint oil and rosemary oil contain terpene compounds that are directly toxic to adult mosquitoes on contact while being rapidly biodegradable in soil and harmless to beneficial insects at the concentrations used here. Total cost of 1 batch of this spray, under $3. Total chemical burden on your soil, your groundwater, your bees, and your family, 0. The dusk smudge is the oldest part of this system and the simplest. Every frontier homestead in America had a smudge pot, or a smudge fire burning near the door at dusk from June through August. It was not decoration, it was function. Mosquitoes navigate primarily by scent. They follow carbon dioxide and lactic acid and octanol produced by the human body. Certain plant smoke compounds disrupt this navigation entirely. The mosquito gets within range of the smoke, and its ability to locate a host is interrupted. Here is what frontier families burned: dried sage, dried rosemary, dried lavender, dried citronella grass if available, often a combination of whatever the kitchen garden produced most abundantly. Bundle a handful of dried herbs together, light one end and let it catch, then blow out the flame so it smolders. Place it in a fireproof container, a clay pot, a cast iron skillet, a fire-safe dish, near where you are sitting. That is the entire method. 1 bundle of dried sage from the garden costs nothing if you grow it, and sage grows in any American climate, requires almost no care, and comes back every year. A bundle from the grocery store herb section costs $1.50 and provides enough material for an entire season of evening smudges. Here is the complete Pioneer mosquito system. The Saturday morning property walk, free, 15 minutes per week. The bucket trap, 1 bucket, $5. 1 pack of mosquito dunk tablets, $8. Apple cider vinegar, $2. Total setup cost, $15. Ongoing cost, $8 per season for fresh tablets. The perimeter spray. Essential oils and witch hazel, $12 to $15 for the initial purchase, enough for an entire season of applications. Per batch cost, under $3. The dusk smudge, dried sage or herb bundle from the grocery store, $1.50. Grows free in your garden after the first season. Total first-year cost of this complete system, approximately $35 to $40. Total ongoing cost after the first year, approximately $15 per season. The average American household spending on professional mosquito control, between $150 and $400 per season. The average American household mosquito situation after professional treatment, unchanged within 14 days. The people who settled this country did not have the option of outsourcing their problems. They had to understand them. They had to solve them with what they had. They had to pass that understanding down to their children, who passed it to theirs, until somewhere along the way, sometime in the second half of the 20th century, someone figured out there was more money in the problem than in the solution, and the solution quietly disappeared from the conversation. It did not disappear from the earth. It did not stop working. It is right here. A bucket, a handful of dry grass, a smoldering bundle of sage, a Saturday morning walk with a coffee cup in hand. This weekend, walk your property. Find the standing water. Deal with it. Put out one bucket in your shadiest corner. Come back and tell me what you find in the comments. Where you live, what your mosquito situation has been, and whether you have tried any of this before. I read every one of them. Next video, the fly problem. My great-grandmother kept flies completely out of the kitchen every August for 60 years, using a mason jar, 2 tablespoons of sugar, a strip of brown paper, and one ingredient from the pantry that I have never seen mentioned anywhere online. It worked better than anything sold in stores today. It costs under $1, and it has been sitting in kitchens across this country since before the Civil War. Subscribe so you do not miss it. Stay sharp, stay self-reliant. The people who built this country with their hands knew things we are only just beginning to remember.